Howdy partners, I'm Sunset Carson. Today we have a lot of guest stars with us over here, some real famous ones. Over there on the end we have David, and next to him is a very famous cowboy star of the silent screens into the movies, one of the golden voice cowboys, Mr. Fred Scott. And then next to him we have another great little man. He's a great comedian. He's doing The Life of Jimmy Durante and oh, so many shows that you've seen him on. Let's give him a big welcome, Mr. Jimmy Caesar. How you doing, Jimmy?
Hi, Sunset. This is a thrill.
And this old cowboy sitting here next to me. We rode the range together many years back. He's a rodeo rider, and he's the only black cowboy star to ever star a movie, Mr. Bob Scott. How you doing, Bob?
Thank you, I'm doing all right.
Over here on my left-hand side, this handsome cowboy over here is the man that drew all of our comic books and kind of made the cowboys famous, didn't he, Fred?
He sure did.
Mr. Max Harrison. How you doing, Max?
Glad to be here, Sunset. It's been an honor, and I'm going to draw your picture real pretty from now on. Guarantee. Golly.
That's great. Let's see. Let's hear about old Jimmy who's sitting there in the middle.
Yeah. Can I tell you what a thrill this is? I've said this all day today, and I've been saying it to you for the past 2 weeks, to be seated among the giants in the Westerns. And see, I come from a very large family, and our greatest joy was Saturday morning, the whole family, that included my mother and father, enjoying the magic films of Sunset, of Bob, of Fred, and David, who's going to be a future cowboy star, and
good-looking kid here.
And Max's wonderful comic books, which I probably bought every Sunset Carson and Fred Scott and Bob Scott comic books, and I have them. And the man who drew all those pictures and told those wonderful stories, Max Harrison.
Hey, Fred. Can you tell us some of the funny experiences you've had back making your Westerns and the different cameras and things that happened to in your career?
I can tell you a couple of things that weren't too funny. A very charming leading lady we had, and a good driver too, but she misunderstood the director. And we were running alongside the car to jump from the horse into the car. And she turned the wrong way, right in front of the horse. Tore my boot off, put the spurs right up into the horse. And it was a close call. But we made do and went through it. I hate to tell you her name. She might see this.
Bob, can you tell us some of the experiences you've had in
Oh, yes, I can tell you some. I tell you, when I first came in the Republic studio, and I didn't know they used dummies. And I was dragging under the tongue of the wagon, jumped from one horse to the other, and they come to find out, all the stuntmen told me I was the only dummy here. So that's where I got into the business. And then, well, I fought bulls, and I rode bucking horses, and jumped the old automobiles, sat on the 2 horses. But in my days, they didn't say what color you were. The bucking horses and the bulls didn't ask what color you were. If you did, I'd have got out and demonstrated in front of them and told them I don't buck the horse. You know? But now, it's a different story. But I still, the bucking horses and bulls don't know what color you are. They can't tell you about that. If you think they don't, just get out in front of one of those bulls, whether you own him or not. Beat him, you know?
I heard a story about, wasn't you the cowboy that come out of the chute one time and you got throwed pretty high and you got up and went to the rodeo promoter and said, "You're not going to ride any more drunk bulls"?
No.
Who was
be sold? Abe Lester was the announcer.
Yeah, Abe Lester was the announcer.
Yeah.
He was a great rodeo announcer, wasn't he?
He wanted the best.
He's announced a lot of rodeos that I was on.
And then one thing about it, every show you had to be a champion now, but in those days, the champion didn't make nothing. The bucking horses and the bulls didn't make no difference what you were, but you had to win it all over. So then in my days, when they're riding old bulls, you had to spur them the first 3 jumps. And now, you just hang on like you can, just rock and roll. But if you didn't spur them the first 3 jumps, you was out.
You had to come out with the spurs in the neck and spur him out of that chute.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Just judge to turn his back and walk away. and go behind his chutes and do something else, you know?
You know, I noticed, you know, we had to ride our bucking horses, you know, with a saddle horn, you know.
Yeah.
And if we touched the saddle horn, we was disqualified,
Yeah.
you know. But now they've got a trick to it. They sawed the saddle horn off,
That's right.
so they can't touch it.
Now, when I first started, they had the old choke rein. You had a choke rein around his neck. They didn't have a hold on the horse.
No, that's why we had choke ropes.
The choke rope on.
That's
If you
right.
rode him, you got off. If you didn't ride, you got bucked off. So that was your problem. So you was on your own. And in the picture business, when I came along, they didn't have a doctor out there. You'd pay your own doctor bill. If you get skin up, you know, now they didn't have the breakaways, you know, chairs and whatnot. You get hit over the head with the chair and everything else. So it's a different story now. Well, I guess the horse that made men
You
different.
caught a few of those regular chairs.
I caught a few of them regular chairs too. You used to go down to Goodwill and buy them. They didn't go down and have them made. So it's a different story.
I got hit one time, an old boy hit me with a shovel, and it was a breakaway shovel.
Yeah.
And the handle come off of it the first time, so he put Scotch tape around it. And the next time he hit me, the handle didn't come off of the darn thing. It knocked me about 12 foot. Blistered my back.
Wow.
You know what really fascinates me, Sunset, and I've been talking about this all day. Many of these films were actually completed in something like 11 days. Is that?
To 14 days, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we had more than that, why, we went on a vacation.
We had to bring them in on a budget.
Yeah.
Fred, you did a picture here. Who was that with? The one you did the trick riding in. I mean Bob.
Yeah.
The two Scott brothers.
Yeah, that's my cousin. That's my cousin. Yeah, that's my cousin. We got the color anyway. So anyway,
I was talking to Bob.
I did a movie with Louis Jordan. You know,
Louis Jordan.
Louis
Yeah.
Jordan played the nobody here but us chicken in the barnyard, and he came out to my place and he wrote songs behind it. He's the first color guy that was on in Hollywood,
Yeah.
Sunset Boulevard. Too bad he had to go early, but we had a series to make. We were the same company you are, Astro Picture
Astros
Corporation.
that time.
But it's too bad he had to go on and leave me, you know. But that's, in those days, we didn't have the breakaway tables and whatnot. And we showed most of my pictures in the color theaters in those days. Then I did advertise a grand prize beer. I think it's about 39, and all the cowboys got down on me. I made it in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, a grand prize beer with showboat. You didn't have a TV then. You had to go to the newsreel and see it.
Yes.
So I went to see it myself and didn't look like me.
Well, I'll be darned.
A lot of people see me now and don't look like I did in the younger days, you know. So
Max,
it's a different story now.
Max, I know you've drawn for so many cowboys, the comic books and everything. Have you got any funny stories you can tell us about old Tex or Gene or any of the boys, old Frog?
Well, yes, some of them. In the old days, Ritter used to like to sleep in the mornings quite a bit, and I'd use Smiley. We were on the road together because I was kind of a little road agent as well, you know. And he would love to get up early, and Smiley did, and he's kind of a morning person. And old Ritter, he had kind of bad feet, and he'd take white socks, and he'd also have a special pack to put the other. You know, if we took one sock off, he'd throw it in that. And it got awful hot in those theaters. I mean, they were just packed in jams. And he'd come back and he says, come in the room, and I was sitting on one side and Smiley on the other. He says, you know, Smiley, I think I'll be getting up earlier in the morning because God love him, I love him. About that time he put that white sock off across his nose, but you know, it smells right smart like my fans. But it got hot in those theaters, a little crowded.
Yeah, you know, and back in those days in those theaters, we used to do 4, 5, 6, and 7 shows a day, you know.
Oh, yes, for sure.
They'd run a movie, they'd run a sunset movie, and then they'd run a cartoon and come in attractions, and we'd go right on. You did the same thing, didn't you, Fred?
Sunset, I hate to break in here, but could we have just a little song
From Max? Oh, yeah, here we go.
Well, I almost have to have a guitar to do that.
Have to have a guitar? Well, why don't you just wing it?
I'll do 2 bars for you.
Yeah, just
I'm glad you can sing because I can't play the radio.
This is Gene Autry's teacher.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm back in the saddle again, out where a friend is a friend, where you sleep out every night and the only law is right. I'm back in the saddle again. That's that all right?
Hey! That is
And
fantastic.
he said, "Come on, champ." I'd be in the wing. He said, "Come on, champ."
And then he would slap some double mint chewing gum in Champ's mouth, didn't he?
Max, that was beautiful.
That was one.
Yeah. Oh, with Gene was.
Well, I tell you, I sort of left my script home and I'm absent a line. I got some coming up, but I'll wait till after television.
Let me tell you, this is one of the best one I've ever had.
Yeah.
Well, we was in Nashville, Tennessee, and when Archie went on a strike, and I was in the truck with the champ, with the horse. And so I had a sleeping quarters in the truck. So they come out looking for me, and the boy was driving, left the brake off, and I was way down the street, still asleep with the horse. And the police came down and said, "Look who's in there." And me and the horse looking out the window. So that's some of the greatest experience I had.
They left the brake off and he went down the hill, huh?
I was down the street still.
So,
I tell you, you're going to be in a comic.
Fred, why don't you tell us one or two of your funny experiences in the movies?
Well, you know, Stan Laurel produced our pictures for a while.
Yeah.
And Stan, in one of them, Stan had a girl. Can't call her name right now, it's probably just as well. And Stan, she was a French girl. She couldn't speak 3 words of English. And he cast her in Songs and Bullets, the name of the picture, as a schoolmarm. And here she couldn't, she was completely French. And when she came, Stan had just given her a mink coat. They were good friends. And she came in, she made her big entrance into the biggest set we had. And you know, we only take one take. And you bankrupt the budget. And she came in with her back to the camera, showing this mink coat. We didn't know who she was until she got clear the other side of the stage. And Fuzzy, you remember Al St.
Yes, I do.
He always had an answer
Wonderful
for
guy.
everything. And she's a pretty little thing, but she just simply wasn't the kind of a person you'd have for a schoolmarm. And so my line is to Fuzzy is, "Fuzzy, is that the kind of a person you'd hire to be a schoolmarm?" He says, "Every time, boy, every time."
That's great. I got to tell you, I'm mighty proud to be around the
Let me
blind.
tell you one more. I'm a cancer patient. They called me from Hawaii to come and do a live story on me. And I hope the writers didn't listen. I had 2 writers that passed since I've been back here. So I guess the rest of the writers don't want to write. So they don't want to come pick me up now, I guess. So I guess they got fed of me. They said I was going to go. A long time ago, give me 3 months to live, and I'm still living, and both the writers gone.
Both writers are gone.
I don't know if I'm bad luck.
The others ain't feeling so good.
No, they don't feel like I feel.
What was that when you was telling me this morning? Jimmy, what was that you tell me this morning about Red Skelton?
And Patrick said they just fell apart. But all these cute stories.
Oh, that's great.
Well,
That's
I'll tell you one thing now. Sunset got me the job, a Western job I made with Louis Jordan. And I make my own acts, and so they wanted to double for me. So the guy said, "We ain't dumb as that guy. We don't need no double for that guy." So I made my own act. So I kicked nobody to do the act. I trained my own horse, I did my own, and what come in the picture. So I had to do my own work, didn't I?
That's right.
I had to do my own work. They said, "This dummy makes his own acts. So why can't we get a man to double him?" So I had that made. Yeah. So this is the man got me that. Yes, he just got me.
You mentioned Pat Buttram a while ago.
Yes.
I had the privilege of being at Smiley Burnett's one of his last dinners he had in a Petticoat Junction.
Yes,
his part on it, and Pat sat next to me, and of course he was putting me on some, and did it in his normal voice. And he'd say, He said, you know, Max, I've been in umpteen million pictures with Gene Artery. He said, but you know, little did I know, every time he went off into the sunset at the end of every picture. But I didn't know one day he'd own it.
That is fantastic. Well, boys, I see we're getting the cue over there from our cameraman. Our time's just about up. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dave and Fred Scott, Jimmy Caesar and Bob Scott, and Max Harrison. It's just been really wonderful to have them down to visit with us on the Sunset Carson Hollywood Nostalgia Theater. And until we all see you again, so long, goodbye, and may God bless you.